I have a question from CSE, and the question goes like this. I have a question that's a bit related, maybe an idea for another video. I think many are interested in this. Has your awakening impacted/improved how you handle any narcissists in your life or family, especially in cases you were subject to their abuse in the past? If it's a stranger, of course, it's easier to cut them off forever, but sometimes these people are family members and it's a challenge to find ways to get some basic respect. So, good question, CSE. So has your awakening impacted/improved how you handle any narcissists? Yes. As you're awakening, you will start opening your eyes to the narcissists that are in your life. And you'll start seeing that they're basically everywhere. And like you're saying is, yes, it's a lot easier to cut off narcissists at work or maybe distant friends, but you'll notice that these narcissists are very close to you. They're in your immediate family. And I've spoken about this in another video, how it's very much like a strategic placement of the narcissists in your life that creates this friction, and it acts as a catalyst to your awakening. And really what's happening when you're awakening to narcissists in your life is you're becoming more conscious of the narcissistic patterns in yourself, because you're able to see it in your so-called outer reality. You're actually, well, if you start reflecting and introspecting, you'll start seeing that those same narcissistic patterns that you're seeing out there are actually in you. So what happens is you start becoming more conscious of these patterns within yourself. And it's really these narcissistic patterns that are of the conditioned mind. So because you're becoming more conscious, you're exposing these patterns within yourself to the light of awareness. And just by simply exposing the patterns to the light of awareness, you're actually dissolving these patterns within yourself. So where most people kind of stop this type of work is really by not even starting the work. It's really easy to call people a narcissist. Oh, my mom's a narcissist, my wife's a narcissist, my brother's a narcissist, my boss is a narcissist. It's easy to do that. It's harder to turn around and reflect, to look within, to introspect and see, where are you seeing the same narcissistic pattern in yourself? And this is why I say it's a catalyst for your own awakening, because you're seeing it in your daily life, and with more self-reflection and introspection, you're able to see it within yourself, and you're able to start dissolving those patterns. You're able to start seeing those patterns as they are, and you're not getting caught up in those patterns. And by seeing these patterns out there and in here, you're really seeing it for what it is. And I've made another video about this, that really we label this person's a narcissist and that person's a narcissist, when we start seeing it for what it is, we really see that it's just these conditioning patterns, and it's very much this immaturity that we're seeing. We're seeing this immaturity in ourselves. We're seeing this immaturity in others. And this is really, spiritual awakening is very much what I call like spiritual puberty. Just like how you went through a state of puberty with the body, you're going through this phase of puberty spiritually. And as you're starting to awaken, you'll start feeling like you're more mature than other people around you, right? And that's because of this spiritual maturity. You're able to start seeing these conditioned patterns within yourself, right? So that's kind of talking about awakening to this kind of, narcissism around you. So yes, it's a lot easier to cut it off at work and distant friends, but it is a challenge It is a challenge when you're dealing with it with girlfriend or boyfriend or husband, wife, or mom and dad, or brother and sister. Those start to become more and more of a challenge. And it really shows you where there's still attachment within yourself, where there's still bondage within yourself. So where are we talking about here in your question? So and you're saying it's a challenge to find ways to get some basic respect, right? So just even looking at that is it comes back to yourself, that if you find that you're not getting respect, it's a sign that you're not respecting yourself, because that's kind of what happens is we basically get the same, whatever is happening within us, then we're projecting that. So your outer reality starts basically becoming the manifestation of what's happening within you. So if you're not respecting yourself, then you're going to get a lot of people in your life that don't respect you, kind of showing you, acting as the mirror for what's happening within you. So don't worry about getting them to respect you. Start respecting yourself, and you'll start noticing that will start shifting for yourself. And basically, how you're kind of pointing out that it's harder to get this respect at home and in your family, and it's more of a challenge with narcissistic family members. Yeah, it's about really creating some boundaries and seeing seeing these patterns come up. And the boundaries is basically, it's not even really a boundary. It's more so that you're not feeding it. You're not feeding the patterns within yourself. You're not feeding the patterns of others with this narcissistic behavior, this conditioned immaturity, right? So that's how it continues to exist, is if you're feeding it, right? So in relationships, say with you and your partner, or your mom and your dad, or whatever it is, it's like that pattern needs your attention. It needs your energy in order for it to continue with you. And that's what you're kind of, through awakening, that's what you're awakening to, is that if you don't give your attention to that pattern, then that pattern can't exist. It can't continue because you're not giving it attention. So whether you call it a boundary, whether you call it just not giving it your attention, but you'll start seeing that will start happening. The more introspection that you do within yourself, the more you starve these narcissistic patterns within yourself, the more you're able to starve the narcissistic patterns with others in your life by just not giving it attention. You're prioritizing peace more than the conflict that comes with the narcissistic relationships. You're prioritizing love more than fear. You're prioritizing your happiness more than all the problems and misery. You're prioritizing freedom more than the bondage of being so attached to these narcissistic patterns. So it starts within yourself. Now, going back to the start of the question, has it impacted and improved how you handle narcissists in your life or in your family? Yes, of course. Because once you see through it as what it is this kind of immaturity, this conditioning patterns that's in everyone, then one, you're not playing the victim game and pointing and saying those are the narcissists and they're abusing me and I'm a victim of life and that whole sob story. You're not doing that. You're just seeing it for what it is, that it's just conditioning patterns. And by having mastery over your mind and seeing it, becoming awakened to that and being fully conscious of those patterns within yourself, and by you not giving it attention and feeding it, then gives you this sense of mastery in your relationships, where you're not being so controlled by it, you're not being attached to it, you're free from it. You're free from it, which then allows you to just simply accept it. Acceptance is the name of the game, that you're able to accept it, right? You're able to accept that it's there, that there's this immaturity, right? Which allows you to still love your family members, love your mom, your dad, your wife, all that. It doesn't require you to escape and run. It doesn't require you to point fingers and blame and be the victim of life. With just this acceptance, you're able to accept what is, while simultaneously just being free from it, where it's not causing you any problems. Now, of course, in these situations with some narcissistic relationships, if it gets into like violence, if it gets into abuse, physical abuse, then by all means, get out of that relationship, right? Obviously, that's not respecting yourself by staying in those type of relationships. Obviously, that's not loving yourself for being a doormat, right? So in that situation, then yeah, it requires you to make some change, right? Something that you might not want to see because of the level of attachment that you might feel like you need this codependency, that you need this other, right? Because you're always looking for love, happiness, freedom, peace outside of yourself, fulfillment, right? But once you see it as what it is you're looking for perhaps love in your relationship, not realizing that you'll never find it in your relationship. You'll not find it in another. You can only find it within yourself. So you start to detach from it. You start to break those limitations, break the bondage, break the karmic patterns, and free yourself from that. But yeah, it gives you this ability to still interact with so-called narcissists, but you're not affected. You're not affected. You're not getting pulled in because you've got that mastery. You can remain present. You don't go into the pattern and get so tied up with the whole argument and get sucked into it. You're able to just stand back and watch that pattern arise and not give it your attention, not feed it. So it's kind of like the other in the relationship. By you maintaining that level of presence, you're actually helping them become more conscious of that pattern within themselves, by you just remaining present, by you not feeding it, right? So something very transformative starts happening in those relationships because they start becoming more conscious of that energy that's arising within themselves. And they'll start feeling like, oh, this is the time when I'm really trying to, start an argument, stir up the shit just to get the juice of the negative energy. But, oh, Joey over there, he's not really playing my game anymore. So they start seeing it more within themselves, right? Something starts shifting in the relationship, but it requires you to remain present, right? It requires you to remain present, not get caught up in that conditioned activity, right? Not for you to all of a sudden become immature and, play this game of who's right or to argue, right? So yeah, it gives you a sense of this mastery. It gives you you're totally accepting of others, because even on a higher level, you're seeing through the illusionary self. So you're seeing through that there's no somebody that's actually in that body that's doing this, right? It's all just conditioned patterns that are unfolding. And then you go even deeper and it's all just you. It's all just a manifestation of you. So hopefully this helps. I'll see you in the next one.